You're live. I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 special Ione City Council meeting to order. Janice, could you please call roll?
Councilmember Atlan.
Here.
Councilmember LeBain. Here. Councilmember Mitchell.
Here.
Vice Mayor Maida
Here.
and Mayor Rhodes.
Here. We all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Can I get approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ayes have it. One no. Public comment, any public comment items not on the agenda?
Gary Thomas. This morning I witnessed something was a bunch of crap, I'll just say that. There's raw sewage coming down the hill on Main Street from a house up on the top. So I called the Public Works, who I believe was Public Works. And he said he was going to turn it over to Justin. I did talk to Justin before the meeting, and he said that they are going to do what they have to do. So thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that the city council was aware of that and that it didn't just stay to Public Works or Justin from the sewer plant. So I have full confidence they'll take care of it, but it's kind of gross in this day and age that there's raw sewage that's running about 20 feet and then it dives into a DI, a drop inlet, and then has the right to go down the hill to who knows what and everything else. But I don't know how long it's been doing it. I was going up to help my neighbor with this phone and I heard something and saw all this going everywhere. So that's about it. But I got to tell you, I'm not going to be around. I got to defend myself on pool game tonight. But I'm against censure because in censure, who are you really hurting but somebody's constituents? So I'm against censure on one of your later agenda items. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
I've been hearing these things going around about the golf course creates so much money for the city. And I'd like to know how it creates. It probably don't create as much money as a grocery store does over here. I bet there's more sales tax of the grocery store than that golf course brings in. And people don't realize that we're not hooked up to tertiary plant. 2010, the golf course paid $10,000 a month. 2011, they paid $11,000 a month. 2013, somehow Maynard, and I read it, they're supposed to pay $70,000 and $35,000 for the lease. And since 2015 to 2022, we've used 1.2 million of our money to run the tertiary plant, and we are not hooked up to it. We're hooked up to it, well, we can't pump our water there and there's no permit to do it anyway. In 2024, Susan was here and they said about $124,000 it cost us to run the tertiary plant. And as far as not having any water for the golf course, all you got to do is go over to the well. The man who was just up here, we were talking to Ron Ohm. He flood irrigated the 500 acres where that was at. He leased it from the city when they bought it, paid $31,000 a year for it, and he ran crops on it. And there's a well on the city's property that he ran that whole thing on. So there's water to run that golf course. It might be contaminated by the CDF, but PFOA and PFOASs, because I don't know if you people have been here long, there should be a big cloud of black smoke over there. That's what they put that fire out with the foam. I was a fireman. I got trained on them. And I've got pictures, and I give a picture. It's got a picture of us and a training it says right in there. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Items not on the agenda?
Hi, my name is Paul Parati. I live on Castle Oaks Drive, right by the clubhouse. Quick comment. Today I went for my daily walk and I walked over to the cart barn. No carts in the cart barn, empty. They didn't have any carts for new players because they were sold out. Okay. So here we are Tuesday, not necessarily a busy day for most golf courses. So I was talking to the guy in the cart barn. He said, well, we have had full capacity Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 6 days in a row. Their tee sheet has been full. They have no room for golfers. And we're talking about closing this place down? I don't get it.
Any other public comment?
C. Ray Brower at 580 Castle Oaks, associate broker with Epic Realty. I didn't catch your name, but the lady last meeting pointed out that the attorney had billed the city for $43,000. I don't know what the $43,000 was. Haven't seen the books. Doesn't really matter. I know that this thing's been being drug out since I moved here. I moved here June last year, and this thing has been 45 days, 45 days, 45 days since I've lived here. I think a realtor on both sides could have had this thing closed one way or another. I don't know everything that's going on in the background. I hear a lot of stories about Mr. Lee. I hear a lot of stories about people on the council. I hear a lot of stories, and to me, they're just stories. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other what the backstories are, because there's no reason in the world that we could not come to an agreement on a way to get this deal closed. That's all I can really say about this. $43,000. I'll take $43,000 and start negotiating. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Any other public comment? Got anyone on Zoom, Chief?
No.
Nope. Closed public comment? Okay, we have one closed session item, conference with Thorough Property Negotiators, property 1001 Castle Oaks Drive. Any public comment before we go into closed session? Going in closed session.
I will be recusing myself as I live on the golf course.
Can we move it to the end of the meeting?
Sorry. No. We're gonna bring you in for part of the closed session for which you don't have a conflict.
Perfect.
Okay.
No?
So
Can't make a motion to move it to the end of the meeting?
okay, we approved it. You can. Is there a second to move the
I'll
closed session?
second it. But it won't, it's gonna go 2-2.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So they're gonna make all you guys sit out here and wait.
Hi there. I don't have any sound. Hello? Hello? No sound here.
Again. They're currently in closed session. They'll be back in a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any picture either.
There's no picture right now because they're in closed session. When they come back, the picture will come back on.
Hi, I was just calling to see if you would call me when they come back in session, but I'm not getting anything from anyone. There's no picture, no sound, and no you. Thanks, bye.
Are they still in closed session?
September.
Ask Heather, call her, ask her if she.
I did, she just freaking didn't answer me.
What's the problem, babe? I thought you were on. Hi, is it on there? Use your phone, you're on fucking speaker. Oh my God, babe, we're on.
Okay, we're back from closed session. Council, could you report out?
Yeah, so there's a couple components to our closed session today, so I'm going to go over one and then Josh should go over the other one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the golf course property. So one of the things by 4-0 vote with one non-participant due to conflict, the council agreed to release an RFQ to start going through the process of vetting potential folks to operate if Mr. Hahn follows through with what he said he's going to do of trying to shut down the golf course. So the first component of it is by 4-0 vote that we're going to start that process. We're going to try to make that process as quick as possible. Then the second component of it is, as it relates to the golf course itself, is we wanted to disclose a little bit more information than we, again, usually do, given the fact that we're in negotiations. But just to say that there's a delta between the parties, which is kind of obvious, otherwise we would have a deal. And we haven't been able to achieve or get over that delta. And one of the things we wanted to let folks know is we have offered to go to a mediator to try to help resolve and see if there was another way of kind of resolving that. So we are exploring any and every contractual avenue that we have available to us, as well as any kind of other legal avenue that we have. We're not there yet, but we're going to keep trying. And so we offered mediation. We wanted to let everybody know that.
The second part of the closed session announcement is related to the agenda item, the open session agenda item this evening. In your agenda packet, there were a number of redacted documents. The first motion on that is that the council authorize release of all of Councilmember LaFane's emails related to the golf course with the current lessee of the golf course between May and December of 2024. The second motion made, that motion was 4-1. Who dissented to that one?
I did.
Mr. Maida. And the second motion was all the redacted pages from your packet tonight have been authorized for public release by a vote of 5-0. And we have copies available for the public that I'll put out on that table over there.
I don't think that vote was correct. Didn't sound right.
So, Mayor, since that kind of concludes our meeting, but we're not at 7 o'clock yet, might be a good opportunity to just take a adjourn closed session and let those who want to get a copy, get a copy.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a recess for a second while we all get our documents. Let's go. Okay, we're back in session. We have one regular agenda item, preliminary hearing of city council to consider request for censure of Councilmember Allison LaFane. I'm going to turn this over to the vice mayor. Give you the gavel.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good evening, Mayor, council members and residents of Ione. The city council recently adopted a policy regarding censure of elected officials. A request for censure was filed by Mayor Rhodes for another council member, Councilmember LaFane. The item on the agenda this evening is a preliminary hearing to consider the request filed and for the council to decide if it wishes to direct further action or investigation. Each council member will have an opportunity to speak to the complaint filed. Our city attorney has provided a recommendation for the procedure of this preliminary hearing. Before the proceeding commences, I will ask our city attorney to explain the recommended procedure and then solicit comments from council members if any changes should be considered. City attorney, may I ask you to explain the recommended procedure for this hearing, please?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Maida. So it is laid out in your staff report what I've recommended for tonight. Generally, since this is a request to evaluate specific allegations, the discussion on this item should be focused on the complaint and relevant circumstances and policies. As I provided in the report, the named council member would make an opening statement. Mayor Rhodes can present his complaint and his reasons for bringing it. The named council member would have an opportunity to respond, ask questions, bring anyone to the podium to speak on their behalf. Mayor Rhodes could then provide a further response if he would like. And at that point, Councilmember LaFane could provide a closing statement or wait until later in the hearing before any motions are made. Public comment would then be opened. And then at that point, the hearing will be brought back to council for deliberation on each of the points asserted by Mayor Rhodes. At that point, you would determine if any further action is warranted. Generally, for each of the claims, you're going to be evaluating if no further action should be taken, and it dies there. If there should be further investigation by a neutral investigator or formation of an ad hoc committee, you could do an admonishment, which is a lower form of discipline, just a general reminder to all council members to be cautious of the rules that apply to the whole council. Or you can direct action for a future meeting where you would consider a warning or a formal resolution of censure. And if you decide to consider a resolution of censure at a future meeting, a resolution would have to be drafted by me for your review and consideration at a future meeting. So those are the things you can do for each of the points claimed. And that's my recommended procedure for the council tonight, to make sure that the named council member has her due process respected. And you can choose to adopt reasonable time limits if you'd like, but before this proceeding actually commences, I would like the council to try to agree on the process before it actually starts.
Thank you, Josh. Council, would you like to make any comments on suggested process? And including like time limits or something, please make any comments.
I'll carve a time on it.
Okay, I do. I have some comments. First of all, this is a bad idea. We've got way more important things to do than this.
I believe we're talking comments right now are on the suggested process.
Okay. The suggested process that we have before us is just been written up for one reason alone, so that individual council members can target other council members and bring censure processes. What we already have a policy in place. This is what we did with Mayor Rhodes when he was censured. Okay, we afforded him the courtesy of going into closed session and having the discussion that we're going to have now. In fact, we didn't even have the discussion. We went into closed session and there were some allegations made. And what the council did was to say, go hire an independent investigator and see if it's true or not. Because this is just one person saying one thing and another person going to say another. So that's number one. This is not how we've done things in the past. In our own manual, in our own policy, it says here that there's a de-escalation clause, right? The first thing you should do is to de-escalate. And that isn't even beginning to happen here. I mean, it's ramp it up right at the start. De-escalate was the, I'm trying to find the page, but it was talk to the person, de-escalate, blah, blah, blah. The other thing was nowhere in our policy that we adopted does it say that we are going to have
it laid out the way we're having it out now. Because what it does say is it says, the complaint shall be reviewed by the council at a preliminary hearing. It doesn't say it's going to be reviewed by the public. It says the council, which would mean a closed session meeting. That is, what should have been happening if this was going forward. There was never any public comment when we had our censure policy in the past. No public comment until we actually came out with the censure. The other thing is you've taken away the vote of the person being censured. They're not allowed to vote on anything. Okay, that's not what happened before. People could vote. If they disagreed with the censure, they could vote against the censure. So basically, all of this stuff is just done to basically, it's a witch hunt is what it is. I mean, there's no other word for it. I disagree with even having this hearing because it's, we got way better things to do than this. And then we'll go into the letters and everything else if the time comes. But I think for the greater good of the council, we should go in a closed session, hash it out, hire an independent investigator. And if Stacy's allegations are true, then we move it forward. If they're not true, then we don't. I mean, that's how we've always done it. And that's what I'd like to see happen.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I do have a comment as to the procedure and the policy. You are supposed to be protecting the city, but you have opened this city up to potential litigation by bringing a contracted individual in public for an internal complaint that he supposedly made, and you are making it public. Contractors are free from harassment, but you're going to put him on the spot through your policy. And we gave direction last year to get an HR department or person in here for a place where staff could go, and it still hasn't happened. So you are subjecting the city to potential litigation by bringing this contracted employee, however you want to describe it, in front of the public. That's my comment on that.
Any other further comments? I have a question for the attorney. We did vote on approve this procedure, correct?
No, not yet. I would entertain a motion to follow this procedure so the proceeding can actually commence.
No,
The censure policy. Yes,
I
anything-
believe that we
Yeah,
had you
there's
go
a
back
lot of
and
folks.
make this,
Yeah.
and we voted for it, correct?
Yes, there's.
Yeah, so the generalized censure policy was voted on 2 meetings ago. Was a 4-0 vote. Went and reconfirmed that.
Yeah, I was absent.
So that happened. There's some extra detail in here as to how this operates. And so I think that's what we're asking you guys to formalize before it ever commences, because I want to be sensitive to the fact that the council is the ones who's driving, the way that this works. We can only make recommendations. So that's what I think, Josh is asking for a vote for. And to the council member's point too, if you guys decide you want to go in a different direction, like, something else, you could choose to change the policy, and then we would figure out at that point in time if how we would go forward. But given the policy that was in place, this was our recommended procedure.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, it's nothing good is going to come out of this. Because there's another one coming next week and the week after and the week after and the week after. And that's just going to put money in your pocket.
Okay, do we want to establish a time limit here, folks? 5 minutes?
I'd like my due process. That's a big complaint.
It's up to us if we want. I'm asking, does anybody want it? It's one of our options is to have a time limit. So I'm asking, is anybody here for a time limit? If not, that's fine.
No time limit.
Okay, no time limit?
Nope.
Okay, let's proceed.
So we're not going to go to number 9. We're not going to de-escalate.
That didn't occur for this one.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, yeah, I would ask for a motion to approve the procedure as recommended.
I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the procedure for this hearing.
I'll make a motion to proceed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. I guess we'll go now to, after the opening remarks, hearing that will now start to begin. Councilmember LaFane, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes. I will address the complaint number 1. As my role as mayor, I was contacted on May 28th. I received correspondence from Mr. Hahn directly expressing his desire to give the golf course links with all the improvements and negotiate the sale of the building and the maintenance. I remained as the first point of contact for council until the end of my term as mayor, as well as being included in the majority of the emails, but admit I rarely read them. Believing council would be advised in good faith by the city manager and the city attorney. Since these emails that are of the redacted copy appear to be copied and pasted, there isn't a flow of conversation. I will address each email by date, starting with the first. On Saturday, September 28th at 9:10 p.m., I got an email from Judy Chang on behalf of Mr. Hahn regarding delays the city was causing and requesting I honor my word. Mr. Panasco, our city attorney at the time, was copied in this email. It wasn't a direct email to me alone. I had no knowledge of the email that Mr. Panasco sent, where he requested Mr. Hahn to hold off on his plans to close the course while assuring him I had committed to signing a draft agreement that Hahn had sent to the city. That was the first time I'd ever heard that Mr. Hahn had sent an agreement to the city. I responded the same day, and I thanked Mrs. Chang for reaching out. And yes, I was not happy because here we were, September, and still nothing was being done. 4 months. And all along, council was giving direction to staff and the city attorney. I forwarded that email directly on to staff. Then I learned of another email dated June 10th. This email was from Mr. Lee outlining the city terms and offer for the purchase of Castle Oaks at a price not agreed to by the city council. And he assured Mr. Hahn he would have a draft LOI term sheet sent ASAP. That was June. On October 2nd, Judy Chang sent a second email saying Mr. Hahn would like confirmation of an accompanying email that depicted council's decision the night before at a closed session meeting. And Mr. Hahn wanted confirmation, and this was in his email, which you'll soon have, or maybe you do have. He wanted confirmation due to Mr. Lee's obstructionist behavior. This was on October 2nd. This email, to me, appeared to be the final straw because we had received that morning a second notice to close the golf course. At this point, due to what I was seeing transfer behind the scenes, an immediate response, in my opinion, was necessary to avoid a shutdown, because Mr. Hahn said in that email he was going to let all the employees know what was coming and who to blame. I confirmed that the email Judy Chang sent was not a depiction of council's direction. And I forwarded the email to staff and called for a special meeting on the 3rd to discuss Mr. Panasco's actions. This council had reminded Andy of our disapproval and previous direction that he show just a modicum of respect towards Mr. Hahn, given the value of the golf course brought to the community and his contributions to the city. The meeting got heated. It escalated fast because he pushed back against council direction to remove contents from the LOI and prepare a draft to be sent immediately. We wanted him to follow direction take out the litigious language and get it out immediately. It was at this meeting that Andy made comments that I had interfered with negotiations. He was pressed to give the reasoning. I don't know if anybody's heard Vice Mayor Ratton. She does not have an inside voice. And he refused, adamantly refused. So there was knowledge on October 2nd of these emails. We reminded Mr. Panasco of our disapproval and previous direction that I already said that. The meeting escalated. At this point, sorry, got ahead of myself. He was asked multiple times by everybody to clarify his comments. This is reflected in the October 4th email that you see, where I say Mr. Panasco had insinuated that I was participating in negotiations. I remained after the meeting while the draft was finalized, and Andy presented me with only the signature page. It was late. I was tired. I had to get up at 4, go to work. I assumed he'd followed our direction, and I signed it. I reached out after the meeting to confirm with Judy Chang the LOI had been signed to cool Mr. Hahn down and would be on its way the following day. On October 7th, I received another upset email from Mr. Hahn through Judy Chang, and again, the LOI was not what council gave direction. And they would be informing the employees the reasons for closing the golf course. Mr. Panasco submitted his resignation on October 12th. But he would remain on council until we got a new attorney. We met again on October 15th because we had a regularly scheduled meeting. We reminded him of the same direction to remove the threatening content, and in an attempt to mend the broken lines, council gave direction for me to draft correspondence to Mr. Hahn with an accompanying LOI agreement that had the changes we wanted. I'm going to admit, I had empathy for the man. He sent a very generous initial offering. He was very kind. He talked about his health. We shared a health matter in common. And he'd also been a target of the two sitting to my left. So we had some common ground. I'm not going to deny that. But I always maintained in my correspondence with Mr. Hahn that the city and the taxpayers came first. My correspondence was sent out via email on October 17th. You're all going to get a copy of that with a copy of the draft LOI. Mr. Hahn signed it on October 24th. Immediately, all the due diligence documents started flowing back and forth. Communication was open. I remained on all the emails, and I would check in. How are things going? People were happy. I saw the documents going back and forth. There were tons of all the due diligence. To date, none of those documents that I saw going back and forth have ever made it in front of this council. None of them. We just continue to get verbal updates. There were inconsistent statements and information going every which direction. At the end of November, council again agreed to develop a good line of communication and asked that I draft another letter. We had updates. At this time, Mr. Panasco tells us, wait a minute, there's an HCD process. You can't do anything until you go through HCD and get an exemption that the property does not qualify as surplus property for low-income housing. That's a very lengthy process. And he is telling us in November. So Was I frustrated with this guy? Yes, absolutely. And we went back and forth and back and forth. I asked Mr. Panasco at that meeting, can I disclose that you have resigned and that we are looking for a new attorney? And he said yes. I drafted a letter. I sent it out on Thanksgiving. I was very forthcoming. I made no excuses for our delays. It says that in the document. I gave him the updates and I asked for his patience. I want to point out that, you know, when you have a little bit of, I don't want to use the word empathy, but I never saw the antagonistic person that everybody was trying to create. I didn't see that. I was seeing his emails going to the city, and I had a different take on it. And something has to be said about the progress that was made during that time. I mean, that's a noted progress. It is my belief, and this will go to an investigator, that these emails were in the possession of staff or Mr. Rhodes, and he can say all he wants. You know, I submitted a PRA request to see who had done a PRA on me. I got no PRA requests from the city clerk that Stacy Rhodes had submitted one. So to me, it's clear that there were individuals involved in this because methodically steps were put in place to bring this to you. We had a procedure in place that wasn't good enough because it wasn't public. That's kind of the way I look at this. I don't think I'd change a thing because I saw the discord that was happening. I saw the attempts and the notices to shut down that golf course. And for me, I felt an immediate reply was necessary and then scheduled a meeting as soon as I could. So I don't see the damages. I see the damages being done before and after council gave me authority to get involved. And I am looking forward to an independent investigator because these emails, Andy made that comment in front of council in closed session. And then he quit 10 days later. And my guess is, knowing Andy, he quit because those emails should have been disclosed to the entire sitting council, not 6 months later to where somebody else has control of the board. They should have been brought per policy directly to the council at that time. And then Andy resigns. So, I'm not really clear on how do you want me to move to the next one?
You can.
Okay, let's just
You
on a roll.
will have more opportunities. It's however you want to use your time.
This one is interfering with the duties of city staff and ignoring the city manager form of government. There's no examples here for the upper part of number 2. No examples were submitted. Did you notice that? The only thing that was submitted was the letter from contractor Justin Granados of Waterstone. So is Justin here?
This is your opening statement. So you can ask
Oh.
questions.
I hate I'm not pleased with putting him on the spot like this. I really am not. I think it's a bad move. I think he was coerced into writing this. I don't even know if he wrote it. It's not signed. But I'll proceed forward. So council received an email from the homeowner at 415 Shakely with pictures of raw sewage everywhere. She'd been dealing with it for years. It was not the person for it to happen to, given things that had happened to her. And yes, I felt that was a public health issue. Raw sewage coming up through her shower, all over the sidewalk, in her house. Her kids got sick. She got sick. It was a mess. She sent a letter. Nobody responded. I reached out from work, said I'll stop by after work. I fell asleep when I got home. So I reached out to the homeowner via text and said I would be there. I think I got there about 7 o'clock and it was dark. I got there, I could be wrong, but there were a lot of plumbers there, could be 2 companies. Should I wait for Mr. Lee to come back? Oh, okay, I thought he was. And I got there, you may know I was crippled. I could barely walk. I had a tumor in my knee. I was very unstable. I got out, went across the street, leaned up against a truck and listened to the conversation that was going on. Justin arrived pretty much at the same time. I was not participating in the conversation. I was trying to understand what a lateral was, what these pipes were, what pipe went where. I mean, I wanted to understand and I wanted to listen. On a couple occasions, I did say, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying anything on behalf of the city. I'm here to listen. I'm here to hear your concerns and see that the city stays on top of this. I've read Justin's statement. I remember him speaking a couple times, but it was mainly their plumbers that were talking because they had been there for years and years and years. They had a computer out and they were showing, going down this pipe. I was mainly observing. I do remember Justin speaking. He was asking a lot of questions. And I know I said, because I knew me being out there was going to be a problem. And I told the homeowner that, be careful. I'm showing up. It's going to be a problem for the city. And I do recall when Justin started, I can't remember the conversation. And I specifically said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. Because first of all, I don't know anything about it. And I'm just here to support the homeowner. We talked for quite a while. And then the group, because we were in a tight, close group. And then people started to, I think a group went down the street, might have been the plumbers, I don't know. I stayed leaning up against the truck. The homeowner was standing next to me and she was kind of pointing out how far the sewer had gotten up. And she pointed across the street that 4 other homes were also experiencing the same trouble. And the majority of the sewage was coming to her house. When the meeting wrapped up, is Justin here or did he leave? Does anyone know?
Disappeared. He's not there anymore.
Yeah, the pressure got to him. And I'm really sorry that he's here. Everybody disbanded. It was Justin and myself, the homeowner, and somebody else. I didn't catch his name. I actually thought it was James, but it was dark. So I didn't know. The homeowner went inside and Justin asked if he could speak to me. And I said, sure. He said, you're not really as mean as I thought you were. I said, well, you're a little different too. You're not asking us for $1 million without supporting documentation. So we laughed. We talked. He vented about the pressure that the city was putting him under. He vented that he never knew from one day to the next what was going to be happening. He vented that he was asked to do things he didn't want to do. And I mean, I'd been there when I was out at the arena. And my advice to him was, you keep pretending like you hate me. That'll keep you safe. The very minute you show any sort of favoritism, you're going to be a target. We talked for probably an hour. He walked me to my truck. He played with my dog. He asked me if he could give me a hug. I said, sure. And he gave me his phone number. He said, call me at any time. He wanted me to come out the next day. I really didn't want to. I said, I'll come out on my lunch hour. I'm working from home. That night when I got home, I sent a text message to the homeowner and said, hi, I sent another email to the city manager. You shouldn't have to deal with this. Justin and I spoke for a while and the city needs to address this now. Keep me posted. I'm not allowed to get involved in the administration of the city, but I can keep this issue relevant and push for action. It needs to get fixed. Hang in there. The next day, I sent a text message to Justin on his cell phone he gave me. I said, hi, Justin, this is Allison. I'll be out around 12:30. I wanted to put a sad face, but I didn't. Let me know if this time works. He got back to me. It was closer to 1 o'clock. He said, hey, Allison, I got caught up on a project. Can I call you around 1? I said, sure. I'm working. I must have cut that off. I said, sure, I'm working till 5. Call me at any time. Justin called me at 1:49. And we talked for 39 minutes. I don't know if any of you have read the complaint that was filed by him on March 11th. The fact that he's not here, I'm glad he's not here because I don't think he wrote that. I mean, I remember when I was forced to write a harassment claim. So that's my response to that one. The next one. Well, this one, there's nothing to support it except for social media comments from former committee member Demi Wright. Also repeated conduct and correspondence with City Attorney Andy Panasco, which no evidence was provided, but I'll admit to that because he wasn't getting the job done. As far as Ms. Wright, prior to her post on social media of February 23rd, Demi and I got along great. I actually recommended to the city manager at the time when she applied for the job. I said, she's a smart girl, bring her in. I think she'd be great. I helped her with multiple things out at the soccer. You know, they couldn't get the bathrooms open. She reached out to me. We got something in place. She and I were working on some trail projects in the park. She reached out to me because she was going to miss 3 or 4 Parks and Rec meeting. I said, don't worry about it. Larry's already missed a few anyway. It's not going to matter. And then she reached out to me one more time. She said, my son's playing baseball and I really want to go to his game. And I said, You don't have to ask me permission, just go. I was still on Parks and Rec, and it was after a Parks and Rec meeting, and I think it was closer to like November. Amy Gedney was here. An issue over the Owens bench came up. And I went and I sat in the hallway with another member of the public, and we were just sitting there speaking. In here was Amy Gedney, Demi Wright, and another member of the Parks and Rec. And I could hear them bad-mouthing me. I didn't care. I really didn't care. On February 23rd, as all you guys all know, I was out at the arena. I have a long history in the horse community. And on February 23rd, I put a post on my personal Facebook page, a lot of horse community members on there, basically saying, I am tired of trying to fight for that arena, and you guys aren't coming to council meetings. I lined out, this is what the city is doing because you're not here, and I'm not going to do it anymore. A lot of people think I have this allegiance to the arena. I do not. I mean, I lost so much money. COVID rolled around and, that was the end. So it was to the horse community. One of the Parks and Rec commissioners was a friend of mine. She took a snapshot, those snapshots, and she sent it to Demi. And Demi went on Ione News and Safety and said, it's disheartening to witness our current mayor resorting to social media to distort facts and exaggerate the efforts of city staff and volunteers, including members of the Parks and Rec Commission. As someone who has closely observed her actions, I feel compelled to address a few of the accusations she has made. I don't know what she meant by accusations. Allison served as the advisory member for Parks and Rec for over a year, yet she failed to contribute any meaningful effort during that time. I'm going to stop right there and say in 2023, Vice Mayor, or I don't think she was Vice Mayor at the time, Councilman Ratton and I put together a Parks and Rec program. She did the administrative side because we were getting rid of ACRA and we had like $32,000 to spend or something close. So she put together the administrative side, the budget for staff, everything. And I did the program side. I outlined multiple programs because I had a background in producing events, 20 plus years. We dropped that in the hands of the city manager, Amy Gedney, who sat on it and buried it. And then lo and behold, 5 months later, it was her plan. We didn't care, really. We didn't. It was getting done. But there's evidence of the documents submitted. So yes, we did contribute. We contributed behind the scenes. When we sit on Parks and Rec, we really are not supposed to engage in the commission. We're simply there as a liaison. I did write this down. Yeah, we initiated the Little Leapers program. We reached out initially. The other thing I did was to streamline a bench policy for a memorial bench. I watched the Shearer family bounce back and forth to council meetings, and it was dragging on and dragging on. And then the Owens family tragedy occurred. Lindsay put a post on social media how disappointed she was in the city that nobody had reached out to her. And you could read the pain in this woman's voice. Councilwoman Ratton and I reached out to Diane and I said, let's go meet with this family. And we sat next door at the coffee shop, and it was heart-wrenching what this family was going through. Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm afforded my due process. And it was painful. It wasn't at that time, it was later that, I don't know how the bench came up, the bench came up. And I decided, we don't want to make these people go through, come in here and just deal with this. So I researched memorial benches, put it together from start to finish to where it never hit Parks and Rec, it never hit the council. They could come in, there was an application, it covered every aspect, checked off by the departments. The benches didn't have to be like every other bench in the park, but they should have some conformity to them. I also added, it would be nice if they wanted a memorial tree with a plaque to plant their own tree. So I put that in there. I also put in there for the elementary school. What if the classes wanted to plant a tree before they graduated? That was given to Amy Gedney as well. And that one got buried too. So, I was very involved in Howard Park. And to say I contributed nothing, it would be far from the truth. Mr. Gold's here. He's looking at that barn. Which is her next complaint. In January, we approved the local Ione 4-H barn. The local Ione barn at Howard Park to 4-H. This barn has been sitting vacant for years. Generating, I won't go through it, generating no income for years. Blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you about the barn. The city had condemned that barn. It was boarded up. On multiple occasions, they said, don't go near it. It's tear down. It's dangerous. We should torch it, blah, blah, blah. And I did. I stayed away from it till COVID hit. And the city begged me to stay. So I went to work on that barn with a sledgehammer and a crowbar. It was a racetrack barn with no breezeway. The stalls were 10 by 10. They were filled with 2 to 3 feet of trash, horse manure, shavings, drug paraphernalia, a lot of condoms, clothes, dead rats, dead cats, dead bats. It was a disaster. I got the help of a few angry women, and we went out there and we proceeded to knock down one side. That lumber is old dimension lumber. It's 2 inches by 14 inches, and it's heavy and it's thick. We knocked that lumber down. A helper from Ione, Monty, never did get his last name. He would come out 2 to 3 hours during the week and pull those nails out one by one. And I reused those nails. That's how good the product was back then. Those boards that we did not use to fix the barn are still out there. I tried to sand them and stain them and then gave up. That barn now has a breezeway. I had to take a skid steer to go through there and remove all of that. I lowered the walls on one side to open it up, enlarged 3-4 stalls to where they're no longer 10 by 10. The walls are not 8 feet high. And then took the doors from the outside and put them on the inside and made them flush, used all the same hardware, and it just opened that barn up. So the barn was not vacant. It was used many, many times by renters. Homecoming used it. The Gold Country Horse Sale used it. The city was making money. Stacy's, I'm not going to go in and address all of the hundreds of screenshots here. Every single time I reached out to Demi and I said, let's sit down and talk it out. Nothing is this. It just doesn't make sense. Let's sit down and talk it out. She refused. So I just gave up. That's not all I'm gonna say. And that's all I can say. I'm speaking the truth. Nothing in those emails are what I wouldn't say. And it's my opinion. And I stand by it. And as far as these emails, I look forward to an investigation by a independent investigator, not an ad hoc committee appointed by this council or the city administration. If you're going to do it, make it at an arm's length transaction, and not you, Josh.
Not investigated.
We never know. And I'm now actually glad that Justin left. I would like the city attorney to speak to him, if that's possible. Because I do feel that that statement was coerced.
Absolutely. That's your request.
Yeah.
Depending on how this goes tonight, if there's, or regardless, we can make sure that we honor that request.
Yeah, because
Absolutely. No problem.
nobody should have that done to them.
Okay, let's move down to the next one here. Number 4, mayor has raised the following, posting derogatory comments on social media about city staff and harming city staff morale.
No, we're doing,
No,
number 4, the council member who filed the, are you finished?
this would be,
I was confused. Were you completely finished with this part?
you'll have time to,
It comes back.
yes. I would proceed to,
Number 4, the council member who filed the complaint, Stace Mayor Rhodes, will have the procedure for preliminary hearing.
Okay, Mayor Rose, would you like to present the complaint you filed?
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, it's hot in here, everyone. I got a statement here I'm going to read. Myself, Vice Mayor Rada, and Councilmember Jack Mitchell have conveyed this meeting tonight to review what we think are important disclosures that we had to bring to the public's attention. We are here tonight for the censure of Allison LaFane and what we think are absolute and distributable breaches of her oath to represent the city of Ione in its best interest. Tonight is about transparency. Item number 1, Councilmember LaFane, without council approval, disclosed private strategy and information discussed in closed session to the attorney of the negotiating party for Castle Oaks. The statement, please do not share my email with Jay Lee. He will share it with Andy and they'll use it against me. I was accused of many things by Mr. Panasco last night. One of them had interfered in negotiations. Or the statement, good morning, Judy. I was able to force Andy to finalize the LOA tonight and prepare for my signature. Again, please keep me updated so I can plan accordingly. Those statements, along with pages of other emails, say all we need to know, and that Councilmember LaFane was disclosing issues that we spoke about in private session meetings. There are numerous other emails that share our position, which you can read for yourself. In no circumstances was discussing what happened in closed session was in the best interest of the city. In fact, it totally undermined our position during the negotiations and continue to do so. Therefore, there is absolutely no defensible explanation for disclosing our strategy to our opposing party. Item 2, another issue includes Councilmember LaFane interference with our vendors, contractors from performing their jobs, as evidenced by the letter that was written by our wastewater contractor. Council member showed up to the house in question and interfered in the contractor's ability to investigate the issues and began giving him directions on what to do. Item 3, Councilmember LaFane has also failed to maintain professionalism with city staff and committee members. This is evident in her Facebook posts publicly disparaging the former Parks and Recreation member. Furthermore, her conduct and behavior during closed and previous city council was full of hostility, and uncalled for. Councilmember Lefane also sent unprofessional emails and correspondence to previous council that caused unnecessary expense to the city, which he continues to do today. Item 4, Councilmember Lefane has and continues to post derogatory statements about city staff in public and on social media, which has inflicted much harm to the staff's morale. Item 5, and finally, Councilmember Lefane has made derogatory statements in public about other council members, large public companies in Ione and county agencies, posting comments that are accusatory and filled with conspiracy theories. Such conduct could result in strained relations with companies that are large employers in Ione and public agencies that the city of Ione needs. We have thought about the need to bring these matters to the these matters to the council and public's attention for some time now, and the urgency of this issue in hand requires us to do so now. Councilmember Lefane often preaches rules, protocol, expenses, and things that are in the best interest of the Ione taxpayer, when in fact, the limited liability company she owns still owes the city thousands of dollars. Tonight's evidence shows absolutely no doubt that Councilmember Lefane has done the opposite and breached the oath she took in representing the city of Ione, and in fact has caused considerable harm. She has revealed the city strategies and intimate details of closed session meetings regarding Castle Oaks negotiations. She has created a negative work environment within the city hall and our staff and caused strained relationships with our past and current council. She has caused potential damage with her relationships with large corporations in town. And finally, she has caused potential disclosure with her public partners in Amador County. For these reasons, Vice Mayor Jody Meda, Councilmember Jack Mitchell, and I, as mayor, are recommending to censure Councilmember Allison Lefane.
Really?
They're meeting.
That's the end of my statement.
Okay, let's continue on, folks. Everybody's gonna have everyone's gonna have their turn, and Allison, Councilwoman Member Lefane, would you like to provide any response, ask questions, or call others to the podium?
Well, we can't call it Justin because he left. I really don't want to put the homeowner on the spot. So the homeowner of 415 Shakely.
Are they here?
Yes, but who wants to get up here and
No, I mean, this is just your prerogative of what you want to do. I would remind you that it's a preliminary hearing. So,
it's up to Amanda.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you can request whoever you want, and then you can leave it up to them. I mean, it's not, we don't have legal authority to go and pull them up here and make them do it. So,
well, she's coming. Good.
Good. Speak from the heart.
You guys want to ask me anything, or should I just tell you my encounter of the night when Justin came over? So I've been having issues with plumbing at my home for 7 years now, which I can say fairly that I think everyone here has known about long before I ever had anyone reach out to me, which Allison was the only person to respond to my email. And yes, she came out to my home. I personally did not interpret her interactions with Justin as controlling or invading his line of work. She did stay out on the street near the truck, and he did speak to my plumbers and my dad briefly. The rest of the time he spoke to me. He went over what laterals were and what the problem was. He did advise me that you guys were already aware of the problem, and then I guess a couple meetings prior to my email, it was already spoke about. So he did talk to me about that. There was not a whole lot that Allison said at my house, at least in front of me. She did say she was at my home for about an hour. I would agree with that. I think 40 minutes maybe. I wasn't really paying attention. It was late. I was dirty. I went upstairs, I took a shower, and they were still downstairs outside my driveway talking when I was done. And what was said, I don't know, obviously. Their interaction with each other seemed pretty friendly and chummy in my eyes. I was very shocked to think that there would be any complaint. If there were any policies and procedures or anything in your bylaws being violated by her being there, that's a different story. But she, in my opinion, that specific incident, she did not interfere with him being able to work at all. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Rhodes saying I disclosed strategies. We didn't really have a strategy with Castle Oaks because we weren't getting any documentation. The three members here, they can have their opinion there. It's a free world. They can, but, clearly the letter from Josh in this complaint is suspicious. And so, I've seen the way this council has gone this year. Some people are very angry. And I am I'm not for this policy. I really am not. I do think it's a little predatory. And I don't need an answer. And I don't think it serves any good. This council has preached, let's get along, let's get along, let's get along. And in the minute the majority changed, we got rid of public comment. We got cameras in closed session. We had all the necessary steps to bring us here. And I remember asking Mr. Mayor Rhodes, why on earth do you want cameras in there? Because I've seen you do some pretty bad things. And his response was, because I want to. So it's unfortunate. I tried at the last council meeting to get this in closed session to talk about it. And I used your performance because that's how we got to get it in closed session. We only have 3 items that we can talk about in closed session. And that is where I wanted to discuss this amongst council and make a decision like, look, this isn't going to be good for anybody, not just me. And these 3 voted it down before they even got here. That's a serial meeting, but that's another censure. I begged the city attorney. I said, what on earth are you doing making this retroactive? I mean, you put the policy in place and say, all right, guys, we all agree moving forward. If you mess up, we're going to hang you. But instead, they made it retroactive. And I think your words were, it can go as far back as you want. That's a lot of money, in your pocket, because it got taken out of the hands of the council and into the hands of the attorney. So I'm tired, exhausted. I'm going to let you guys do whatever you're going to do. The rest of these, writing derogatory comments on social media regarding other council members. I've got a catalog, not of mine, of someone else's, newspaper articles, you name it. I'm a habitual liar, get rid of her. I mean, nobody is going to be immune from this censure. Nobody. And it's not the way you want to move forward. I'm just putting it there. But the ball's rolling. And unfortunately, these 3 members voted it down when I wanted to get in the room and talk about it. So here we are. Anger doesn't serve anybody any. I learned that a long time ago. But I certainly do not back down to a fight. Especially when the taxpayers are footing the bill. That's all I gotta say.
I have a number here. What was just going?
Back to Stacy.
Okay, back to Steve. Mr. Rhodes, Mayor Rhodes, would you like to provide any additional comments?
I do not at this time.
Judge Judy.
Councilmember LaFane, would you like to make a closing statement or wait until a later part of this hearing?
There's more?
You get to have the last word, Ms. LaFane.
Before they make any motions, you're allowed to make a closing
Well,
statement.
I mean, I don't want to waste everybody's time. We know what it's going to be, I think. I don't know. I would like to see one dissenting member put a stop to this and vote against it. That's what I would like to see. I mean, stop this now. I mean, you've already put me out there. You got your goal done. So, yeah.
We can provide you another opportunity for closing comments before, if you want.
Do the public hearing.
Oh, yep.
There's no council comments? They're done?
Last.
Public.
Oh.
At this time, I would like to open the hearing for public comment.
Good evening, council members. From today's agenda, I see a March 25th report from City Attorney Josh Verinsky that it was March 14th when Stacy filed a request to censure Councilmember LaFane. It was in fact February 18th that LaFane was publicly named for censure in the City Council agenda at the request of Stacy Rhodes. I reference agenda item number J2, a February 18th memo written on city letterhead, also by Josh, stating that it was on February 4th, 2025, that Stacy requested an agenda item to consider the censure of Councilmember LaFane. It was further stated in that memo that the city did not have a formal censure policy, which was also incorrect. On April 19th of 2022, the Ione City Council voted 4-1 to censure Stacy Rhodes, citing harassment and other violations of a fiscal nature following formal third-party investigations through the city attorney, an extensive public process affording rebuttals to the claim pattern of misconduct. It was also on February 18th that I was named in the same agenda at the request of Stacy Rhodes. I have inquired about the staff reports from this agenda as per the protocol manual, section 8.07, page 37. That's page 37. I question the process from the protocol manual regarding the development of the agenda as not being followed for the February 18th meeting. Because if the stated city procedures were followed, the easily verifiable as false claim would have been vetted properly and afforded the matter of my suggested removal moot. Instead, the item was ramrodded forward to a published agenda and discussion without proper process, resulting in public embarrassment for everyone involved, not just me, but also Stacy and the council. No one contacted me in any way to question the false allegations being levied. Instead, on the suspicion of one person who went on to cite in writing and on public record that his sole reason was hearsay, admitted he was overzealous and did not check the validity of the claims made. Now, again, this was all aired out publicly already on February 18th, but what was not was the March 8th written apology stating that my removal on the agenda was done again without checking the validity of the claims, which is in direct conflict to agenda protocol. Again, page 37 of the protocol manual. So I ask again, if the manual was followed for the February 18th agenda, then how was the validity of the claim for my removal not verified? If the protocol manual and the city protocol was followed, why was the March 14th memo manufactured 6 weeks after the public censure facts were already published? Why are matters as serious as censures and removals being ramrodded and taken to published agendas without due process, but only for some of those that are being accused. We were also advised in the March 18th meeting by Councilmember LaFane that attorney bills from City Attorney Josh were in excess of $40,000, and she requested more information on which council members were requesting those legal services to drive up a bill that is 4 times the retainer value in a single 1-month billing period. I will note now that one of the reasons for censure of a city council member is to cause liability or extraordinary legal expense to the city per item C as in cat, F as in Frank, in the newly published censure policy, which seems to still be up for vote as of today, my correction. Regarding the March 14th memo citing 5 reasons for censure, 3 of those reasons are based solely on social media. That is not a cause listed for censure in the new 2025 policy, and I could not find any reference or support in the protocol manual either, citing social media. I counted 73 pages of screenshots out of a 132-page of agenda. 73 pages of screenshots. I was one of the attendees at last year's Brown Act training that George organized with the previous city attorney on July 30th. Not one of you sitting council members from 2024 attended that training.
I did.
No, you didn't, Jack. That was July 30th.
The one with Andy.
That was
Yeah.
July
Oh, okay.
30th.
I'm
There
sorry.
were
I thought-
2, I'll get to it.
Okay, yes.
I did research the matter ahead of time. Thank you, though, for the point of clarification.
Understood. Thank you.
During that training, the social media was reviewed in which it was stated that we needed to be aware of not having serial meetings, which would take place if a majority of the body members were having discussions on Facebook. This includes the likes or responses to a post or comment, as well as written comments. The Brown Act mandates local bodies conduct business in open meetings for transparency and public access.
4 minutes up.
I'm sorry, we haven't had a time limit of 4 minutes, have we?
Public hearing.
Oh, just for me. Okay.
We said no time limit.
I didn't say no timer on public comment. Public comment is 4 minutes. We
Public
always
comment always
done that. We all know that.
Council member, no time limit on council members. Public comment always 4 minutes.
All right. Well, with that being said,
It wasn't
I
only to you.
everyone's time today in allowing me to bring these matters to the attention. I just want to close by saying that I've only had professional and courteous dialogue with Mayor LaFane, and I have nothing negative to comment regarding her capacity to serve without censure on the city council. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to note that it says, states right here that the public session is limited to 4 minutes for public comment. Any more public comment, please?
Thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor. Dave Livingstone, Wildflower. And I'm gonna say the lady right here, I thought did a very nice job of framing what's going on. So, thank you. I'm gonna be more generalized in my comments because I don't have the research that she has done. But I'm just gonna say, in general, I've lived in Ione for 7 years now. I've come to a lot of these meetings, I think most of these meetings during that time frame. Most of the time, I keep my mouth shut. There are times I stand up and speak when I feel strongly about something, and I'm going to say just a few words tonight about that. I've heard a lot of accusations back and forth between the people tonight. I have no axe to grind here. I'm not favoring one person over another. This is in general, just an announcement to the folks in this council and also the citizens that are here tonight. I've heard a lot of accusations tonight made by people against other people. And I listen very carefully to those accusations. And I find it interesting that when one person says something, the other person says something entirely different. Or the accusations come right back at them. And I find it interesting that the accusations they make, those folks have been guilty of the same things. So I'd caution city council members, be careful. I would also like to say that when I look at some of these meetings, because I've come to a lot of them, and I'm reminded of a child in a fight in a schoolyard. And I think a lot of you guys, I see you're all adults. Some of you have gray hair, some of you don't, but you're all adults. And I find it interesting that you carry on this business at these meetings and you end up getting in fights, you bicker, and you accomplish nothing at the end of the meeting. There's nothing good coming out of this group here, good for the city of Ione. And that's very sad. So I think that overall, I'm disappointed as a taxpayer in Ione and what we're getting for it. And I would ask the council to really think about that when you make decisions, and drop the bickering, drop the fighting, because you know why? It accomplishes nothing. So please think about that. Be better citizens. You are the leaders in this community. And you should think about, how is this impacting my neighbors, the businesses in town, the school? Because you set the example. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
We have some more public comment. Excuse me? Okay.
I think we should all, that you people up there should try to get along and take care of our business instead of bickering.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. I wanted to take a moment to talk about accountability, especially when it comes to all of you elected officials and how you treat people. In a small town like Ione, community matters. The way we treat each other matters. And when someone in a position of leadership repeatedly engages in unreasonable and abusive behavior, it can't be ignored. Turning a blind eye to mistreatment is exactly how we ended up here, with people feeling unheard, unvalued, and even unsafe engaging in their own community. The situation that played out publicly for me personally on Facebook was not an isolated incident. It was the result of months of ignored bad behavior, small moments that kept escalating because they were allowed to. A finger in my face when I didn't do something that she wanted me to vote for, or an aggressive email blaming me when that a nonprofit no longer would work with the city because of my behavior. Repeated intimidation and hostility went unchecked. And when it finally blew up online, I watched as my character was ripped apart in front of the 8,000 people in the Ione News and Safety group through disgusting lies and exaggerations. And while my comments remained professional, fact-based with minutes linked to them, and unchanged, hers were repeatedly edited and deleted. And in the aftermath, no apology. I got one comment suggesting to sit and talk with her, as if reasoning with someone who has shown no interest to being reasonable is a solution. It's not. Leaders are meant to serve their community with integrity, not intimidation. We cannot afford to normalize bad behavior just because it's uncomfortable to confront it. Holding all of you accountable isn't just about one person. It's about setting the standard for the kind of leadership that we all expect and that we all deserve. I want no one, regardless of title or position, should be ever above accountability. Ione is built on the strength of its people, our volunteers, our neighbors, our shared commitment to making this town better. That only works if we foster a culture of respect. That starts with speaking up, holding people accountable, and refusing to accept mistreatments, even with you as the council. Because in a small town, the way we treat each other matters. And when we ignore mistreatment, we don't just fail individuals, but we fail our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Demi. Continue public comment. I guess we'll close public comment.
Ask if anyone's on Zoom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Is there anybody on Zoom? Chief?
No.
No. So we will close public comment. And I'll bring the discussion back to council. I will ask council to consider and discuss each item asserted by the mayor in order, and who would like to begin?
Find the sheet.
You want me to begin?
Sure.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming tonight. I tried very hard to get this dropped and handled in a different way, handled by de-escalation and handled in closed session like we have always done. So there was no need for this to come out. I'm going to be super quick, but the opening statement from Stacey Rhodes was that the three of them had decided that this is what they're going to do. That's a violation of the Brown Act. They have a meeting outside of a council meeting, and that's a violation, and that's against the law. And I hope our attorneys will do something about that, because that is what all of this angst is about for the last several months. And that's what you get when you put Stacey Rhodes in as mayor. I'm
We
sorry.
didn't have a meeting.
You just, okay, hey, it's my turn to speak, but you read it out, okay? You read it out. So, moving on from that. The, item number one, the unauthorized disclosure of closed session information and negotiating with the, golf course. Okay, first of all, Allison, everything had gone down the toilet. And there was no movement at all on the golf course. And the council gave, all of the council, I think even including Stacey Rhodes, gave Allison LaFane, who was the mayor, the authority to send letters or to communicate with the golf course, Judy Chang. That's the attorney for the golf course. She was explicitly given authority to do that. So anything that happens after that, she had permission. In Stacey's allegation on number one, he's saying that she's negotiated with Judy Chang, right? And you've all got the letters there. And I'm going to give this to Stacey. Do me a favor. Underline the negotiation, please. Underline it because I couldn't find it. Didn't mean to throw it at you. So you're not going to do it. All right. So there is no negotiation in there. None. Zero. Number two, interfering with duties of city staff, ignoring the council, blah, blah. This is the Justin Granados one. First of all, and this isn't about Stacey, this is about another censure, but there will be one about Stacey. The person that interferes the most is the person bringing these allegations, just like that speaker said. Okay, so here's the letter from Justin Granados. So I don't know if anyone's read it or not, but I'm just going to read you a couple of things. First of all, he says, on the evening of January 22nd, 2025, I received a call, blah, 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 right? So this letter is sent to George Lee, a complaint letter, March 14th, 3 months later. So are you telling me that someone went out to the street and was so upset that 3 months later they decided to file a complaint? That's what it says right there, okay, on the letter. The other thing is this is from Stacey Rhodes to Josh Verinsky. Well, how did Stacey Rhodes get the letter? Because this letter was sent to George Lee. Okay, so this letter gets sent to George Lee, but Stacey Rhodes gets it. And again, 3 months later, he decides to file a complaint. And you just heard from the person that was there that what he says in here didn't happen. I also believe he was coerced, and we're going to get to the bottom of that as well. Turns out that what this whole thing was about is getting fixed anyway, so that's a good thing. But one of the other complaints is, well, why is Allison LaFane showing up at a wastewater thing? Why did Stacy Rhodes show up at the stormwater thing a couple of years ago? We settled for $90,000 on that one, just so you know. But he was there. Somebody called him. I got called to a store one time when I was the mayor. Hey, my store is having problems, blah, blah, blah. And I got called. I went there. So, I mean, people showing up is neither here nor there. And that's one of his allegations. Not upholding standards of civility and decorum. First of all, the thing with Demi is, look, that whole 70, how many pages was that? 77 pages. Okay. Hundreds of pages of 70-odd pages of back and forth email on Facebook. And, oh, but they're not getting along? I mean, really? On Facebook? On social media? Are you kidding me? Allison LaFane was the one who wanted a social media policy a year before that. Okay, and it got kicked down the road because what should have happened is, and we did discuss this, is we should not be posting at all because it causes problems. But that was like, you know, denying us our free speech and everything else. But it would be like, well, you can't, that would be a good thing. You can't post anymore on social media. So that whole thing with Demi and Allison, it, you know, someone said someone started it, someone said the other one started it. So who knows, right? I mean, you could look at the timestamps and find out, but that's a non-issue. Everybody gets on social media, and including myself, when I probably shouldn't. So, you know, that's something that we need to end, and certainly doesn't warrant a censure on that one. Okay, number 4, posting derogatory comments on social media about city staff and harming city staff morale. So then we go to the Jody Steineck letter, which she was our former council person, finance manager, right? So she's going on about she doesn't name Allison LaFane, number 1, which is the person being censored. She just says some members of the council said this or said that or said the other. She wasn't very happy with the fact that we were kind of interfering with their job or saying that they weren't following policy. So they actually admitted, the finance department, we've had open discussions over this. They have admitted that they don't follow the policy. They don't follow the bid policy. They don't follow the RFQ policy. They don't follow the PO policy. They don't follow the how much you can spend before policy. They don't follow any of the policies. And we had good discussions with them. Okay, the council wants to safeguard your tax dollars. That's what they want. They don't want people just spending money. Oh, and then all of a sudden we have a problem. So those issues were a fair back and forth that started with the finance committee. And then that came from all the council members. And then she singles out this one thing, whereas the council didn't want us to use Weber Gio and Associates, right? So who that is the engineering firm. So just so you know, a couple of years ago, we put out a bid for city engineering services. Okay, and we had several bidders, and Weber Gio and Associates was not one of them. And I know those guys. They've done work for me where I worked before. They're good engineers. I'm not saying they're not. But they did not respond. And I asked them, why didn't you respond? They said, they're too busy, got too many clients. So they didn't respond. Okay, so we hired a company, Willdan, to be our city engineer. And then it turns out that we get a new city manager, Amy Gedney. And then a couple of months later, we find out that we got all these bills coming from Weber Gio and Associates. And I mean, I know who they are, but it was like, well, why are we getting all these bills from this engineering company that we didn't even hire, that didn't even bid? And it turns out that Amy Gedney, the city manager, sorry, I got to mention your name, but you got to own it. She hired them. And then the problem with that is Amy Gedney is a former employee of Weber Gio and Associates. And what she should have done, she should have disclosed that. And that's okay, right? But what you do, that's a massive conflict of interest. And so what she should have done is said, hey, these guys are really good. Wildan's slow or whatever it is I don't like about them, you know, whatever their excuses were. So I recommend that you guys hire Weber Gio and Associates, but I need to step out of this because I worked for them 2 weeks ago before you hired me. So that was why the council stepped in and said, we only want Wildan to do our job because they're the contracted engineer and Weber Gio had conflicts and so on and so forth. So did Jody write a letter saying some things about the council she didn't like? Yeah, when we had discussed that, but it wasn't Allison LaFane. In fact, it was probably more me than Allison LaFane, just so you know. Number 5, writing derogatory comments about the water agency or whatever. Hey, we've heard about CDCR, right? We've heard about the golf course poisoning everybody. We've heard about that. We've heard about the health department not doing their job, the supervisors not doing their job, regional board not doing their job, EPA not doing their job. We've all heard that from a couple of council members, right? So it's okay for you to say it, but when someone else makes a comment, and it wasn't even a bad comment, it was who's benefiting out of this was an agency, and they were. But it's like, that's not a censure issue either. So this whole thing is a witch hunt. Everything was changed from our previous policy that would have put all of this in closed session. So you wouldn't have to sit here for 3 hours to listen to it. And we could have hired an independent investigator. So it's not my opinion or your opinion or blah, blah's opinion. It was like, did this actually happen? And that's what it should have been. And unfortunately, Stacy changed the policies, like he changed the start times of the meetings, like he does whatever he wants. He's got a majority now, and I'm hoping that the majority does the right thing. Okay. I hope they wake up and say, this is not good for Ione. We got to get along. That was the hope. And that's my continued hope. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay. I think I'd like to go next. When it comes to item number 1, in my mind, the very first page of this, first I want to get back to something. I don't have a witch hunt for anyone. I have nothing against Councilmember LaFane. Do I disagree with her? Yes. And I'll get into other things about that, but it's not a personal thing. It's strictly about what's best. I believe what's best for the city and to try to be cohesive, because that's been my motive from the very beginning, is try to get this council to be that way. I have not been argumentative whatsoever, but I believe we have a case here because I truly believe that Councilmember LaFane negotiated behind our backs with the Castle Oaks Con Corporation. If I was a member of this city, or a member of the golf course, or a homeowner at the golf course, or an employee of the golf course, or a trade who manages the golf course, I'm talking, I don't want to be interrupted.
Back off the mic.
Excuse me?
It's fuzzy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I would be very upset. I believe that it's cost us immense amount of time. We could have been done with this golf course thing a long time ago if I believe Councilmember LaFane did not negotiate through Judy Chang and Mr. Han, which shows it right here in this, and I'll read it. Give me a moment. And I'd like to be not interrupted. I did not interrupt you, and I did not interrupt you. Okay? Very top. Now, she's sharing this with Judy Chang, who happens to be Mr. Han's attorney, correct? Please do not share my email with Jay Lee, which is his attorney. He will share it with Andy, who's our attorney, and they'll use it against me. I was accused of many things by Mr. Panasco last night, one being that I interfered in negotiations. Let's go down a little further. Good morning, Judy. I was able to force Andy to finalize the LOI tonight and prepare him up for my signature, but not without a battle against 3 antagonists who have consistently attacked the golf course and undermined any chance of the city to prosper. Now, how is that helping us? How is that helping the city? That's giving, if I was the owner of that golf course, you know what I'd be thinking? Hey, we might be able to work with this girl, you know? You know, we can probably stall this out. She, you know, she looks like she's willing to give us some information, which she does. And then she gets into some personal things about her health and well-being and how she's going to resign when this is over. But then she says, I have struggled for a year over this decision about, I assume, whether she's going to resign or not. But tonight it was clear. These men have no heart for the city or anyone for that matter. Evil. She uses the word evil is all I can see. How is that helping us? Now, if you got golfers and people at the golf course, you know, if you want to be blaming somebody, don't be blaming this council. This council has been working since I've been here. We've been trying like crazy to be as transparent as possible and to also be, to give you as much information as we can. And it just seems like when we have discussions at times, it just seems like there's something that's just there about, I just haven't felt comfortable about how things have proceeded with this. I call it my crap detector. It was going off quite often. Excuse me?
So ours is going off too.
Okay, we have public comment for that, please. So I truly believe that she negotiated behind our back. I totally believe that this is a censurable act. This is the one that's near and dear to me. And at some point, I'd like to get Mr. Lee's comments on this when everyone's had their say before we make a decision. And I want to add and make it clear once again, I am not against her personally. And when it comes to social media, this has been a real issue. Since the very first day I was on this council, that was the very first thing I brought up. So let's go to number 5. I believe it's 5. Writing derogatory comments, social media regarding other council members and other agencies such as the Amler Water Agency, where, you know, she's posting that it was going to cost us $4,000. The water agency is going to get $4,000 for us if that thing went through regarding the turf. When actually what was going to happen is the city was going to receive $4,000. So, and posting comments that are accusatory in nature without facts, definitely without facts. Such conduct could cause strain relations with public agencies, which we do have, and that are important to the city's normal operations. Now, anyone who's followed social media, whether you are a fan of the councilwoman or not, it doesn't take much to see how these things continue. They start out slow, then they exacerbate, then it gets nasty, then it gets nastier, and then other people get involved and it gets nasty. 90% of the time, the facts aren't even accurate. If you want to know what an accurate fact is, come see me, call me, text me, email me. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you about anything. You just can't help yourself, can you?
Hot in here.
Okay. What I've seen on social media are flat out lies, accusations, and libelous slander to dozens of people, to council members, agencies, boards, commissions, committees, staff, the public, local and county businesses. How does this not affect our city when one of our own members is doing these things on social media? I just flat out see lies. And then, I was accused by a former vice mayor. I guess I'm anti-woman now. I don't know. I happen to have a wife, 3 daughters, granddaughters. I have 5 sisters. And all of a sudden now I'm anti-woman when I had absolutely nothing to do with with Amber Huiska's situation. Nothing. If it came up for a vote, I was going to vote no for it. But how all of a sudden is it that all of a sudden I'm an anti-Amber Huiska? I'd like to have an answer to that because I consider that slander.
Way off topic.
No, we're not.
Yay.
We're off topic?
About me.
Okay, we're off topic. And what's okay. Anyway, so I just want to, if nothing else, I would like people to understand that read this, think about it. This is the one that's near and dear to me because I believe we would be done with this Castle Oaks thing done a long time ago. And I believe that the reason our bills are $43,000 is because of mostly because of Councilwoman LaFane. That is why we have such high bills. I have spent this much since I've been on this council, and that was December 17th. I don't know about anyone else. I don't believe Jack. I don't know about Stacy. I don't believe Jack's used it either. So I know it's not coming from me. And I know administration is allowed to have certain things. So I also think that the spending of our funds when we're advocating that we're taxpayer friendly is just not accurate. So that's all I have to say. And at the end of this, I'd like to ask Mr. Lee for his opinion. Who would like to speak next?
I'll go next, I guess. Chambers in closed session's a great idea. Since I've been on the board, I've been threatened. I've had snide remarks said about my wife, my family. I've had this very board put in 7 FPPC violations to be pursued against me. You asked for de-escalation and say that it should be done in closed session. I certainly wasn't afforded that when I allegedly broke a closed session. You decided to not even give me notice or let me know what I was coming into the meeting about and just railroad me right on out when you had. And I remember it. So I know how you're feeling, Allison. I'm sorry you're having to go through this publicly. And I know I'll get to go through it again because I know from the FedEx piece I've got, we're going to get to relive that for against me in the next meeting. Tonight I was accused of serial meetings. I mean, I guess it's just accusation. I can't speak to the Castle Oaks issue. I live on the golf course. I know I've been slandered online that people say I want the golf course to close. I don't know who in their right mind would think I'd want the golf course to close, as my property is on the golf course, and that little course makes my property quite valuable. What I do want is safety, and I want the best for Ione. It's embarrassing to sit up here, and it's been embarrassing to sit with this crew, and it's tiring. I do my best, and for it I get slandered. They talk about my day job, shit I've done wrong. You know, and now it's time to turn the other cheek, I guess. I do think there's certainly, and I wasn't sitting, but there is, when you say, hey, you're working for the city, but to make sure my city attorney doesn't get this information, that scares the hell out of me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
One
Mr.
more.
Mayor Rhodes.
Just real quick, item 1, Allison was given permission to write 1 letter to the Hans. It was just 1. Item 2, Justin wrote this letter. I had nothing to do with it. This was totally on his own. Item 3, poor Demi was put through hell, and I'm here to defend you. Item number 4, not only Jody quit because of harassment, Attorney Andy also quit because of harassment, and there's probably some other staff. Item 5, that whole thing that was written about AWA, and that was just completely wrong statements. So that's, well, all I have.
Any other comments? Councilwoman LaFane?
Closing?
No.
What is it?
Any
I mean, let's put some structure to this.
I have structure right here. He gave it to me.
I'm speaking to,
I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry.
You know, as far as the AWA thing, I learned after the fact, that the information on that turf agreement did not come from AWA. None of those figures came from AWA. And that's what I was told that night in that council meeting. It's AWA's agreement. It's AWA's agreement. It was not AWA's agreement. And AWA has put that in writing, that all the figures, everything came from the city. So I will apologize to AWA because it was framed at that meeting that the agreement came from AWA and the city did not have a hand in it. So
I will admit when I'm wrong. Sorry, Dominic. And as far as staff, I get it. Usually, when we had Amy Gedney here, you never saw staff at a council meeting, very rarely, unless they were going to give some sort of update. The city manager, the city manager is the administrator of the city. They have the staff reports, they're prepared. You seldom see a staff member, and they're actually really, that's outside of their job description. And that was one of my biggest complaints. I have email after email after email going to Andy, because I'm the mayor, saying, you need to stop this. I'm getting emails from staff. They're not supposed to do that. And every single one I shoot back and I say, this needs to stop. You've got people being put in positions that's not in their job description. It's an HR nightmare. And so, yeah, I mean, staff has to come up here and we cross-examine them when we're supposed to be cross-examining our city manager, not staff. And so, as far as a crap radar, I would challenge you anywhere on that. I mean, you made some accusations. Closed session. Yeah, we've got some civil rights violation going on in closed session. Physical threats by men lunging across the room at women. It's not funny, George. I know you weren't there, but there were a lot of people there that night. So, hiding behind closed session, I'm glad those cameras are in there. But I watched it. I was here 2 weeks on council. And I was very disappointed in the men in that room because I was looking for you and you weren't here. No woman should have to go through that ever. So that's all I'm going to say, because I got to get up in the morning early.
Okay, Mr. Lee, I'd like to get your opinion and comments regarding what you have on your mind.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Can I speak? Okay. First of all, as the city manager, I think my position is always to remain neutral. Because there are two sides. It's pretty apparent. However, I will say that the only side that I'm on is the city side. My only duty is to represent the city of Bayonne and its residents. I have no side here, no side here. My one side is the city. And I'm glad that Ms. LaFane has, or the entire council has authorized the release of all her emails with respect to Han, Andy, me, and any other person besides Judy Chang, because I think if those emails are released, I think it'll tell a very, very clear picture of what happened. This was not a negotiation of a short time. In my personal opinion, I do believe Andy Panasco was trying to represent the city in its capacity as a legal counsel as best as he could and not give anything away to a party that is the breacher. The city is not breaching this agreement. I think sometimes people get lost in that. The city is not breaching this agreement. It's the golf course that's breaching this agreement. So, and the city, all the council members here are trying to do their best to make sure that the golf course does not close. And you can't negotiate by yourself. You need two people to negotiate, from my experience. So as a businessman, you need two parties to negotiate. You can't negotiate by yourself. So I think this city council is doing the best it can under the present circumstances to try to make sure that the golf course is not closed. That much I can say. With respect to some of the things that may have occurred during the negotiations, I'm a businessman, okay? I have no side. Again, my only duty is to represent the city and its resident. That's it. And so as a businessman, I put forth ideas that any businessman would do to cut to the chase and get this problem resolved quickly. So those advice was, again, I'm not a politician, so my job is to present ideas to the council, and they're the decision makers, not me. So the only thing I can do is bring ideas to the council and solutions. But at the end of the day, I'm not a decision maker. It's the council. So again, I do believe the council is working extremely hard to try to get this cash flow resolution done as soon as possible. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, the council has concluded deliberations. I will entertain motions from the council. Considering the motion process, the option is available to consider separate motions for each claim asserted. For each of the claims asserted, the council may take no action or direct further investigation by a neutral investigator or formation of an ad hoc committee, or make an admonishment to all council members, or continue the matter to a future hearing, at which time the council will consider providing an informal warning to the named council member or consider a resolution of censure drafted by the city attorney.
Vice Mayor, I would pause just to confirm if you have any closing statement before any motions are made.
I'll make a motion to hire an independent investigator to see if these claims are true or they are not true. We all have different opinions, and the only way to find out for sure is to have an independent investigator.
It would.
Motion's been made.
It would, the recommended approach is take one item at a time to go through each item.
For all of them, just to save time.
Okay, so
Yeah, you can make, so to be clear, you can make a global comment. Just make it clear that you are applying it to.
Oh, yeah, I was for everything on the censure. Would like to hire independent investigator to see if they're true or not.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second.
Councilmember LaFane can't vote on this.
Okay.
That's right. My vote's taken away.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I guess we have no. 4-0 for further investigation.
We didn't decide on the investigator.
Sorry?
Investigator who picks the
An
investigator.
independent investigator.
Well,
Yes, but
we can bring it back to the council.
what about the one that they used last time?
Yeah, we can, given that that's the direction of the council, then what we'll probably bring back as the city council, city attorney will bring back 3 or 4 different options to let you choose from. If there's a precedent of an independent investigator that was used in the past, that would probably be one of the options that would be to select from.
I think we'd want one that we all agreed on.
Yeah, it would be one that the 4 folks decide on.
Oh, I can't.
We'd agree on it too. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.